Yeah. Bitches be ballin'.
We're back. Second
Episode
half of the season.
14, second half of the season.
Time is
And
flying.
time is flying, Kayla. In fact, season's almost over.
Yeah, honestly, it
It-
really is. Like about March, I think it's done.
yeah,
I mean,
I
most
think,
leagues end in March.
yeah.
No one
I'm
really
already
gets a break.
starting to plan for playoffs, looking at like playoff
Mm,
schedules in my various leagues and stuff. So, um, speaking of which, we're gonna go over rest of season projections. And we have a special guest, our first male guest on our
mhm.
show, Mr. Adam King, who kindly hosted this industry mock draft that both Kayla and I participated in. So,
Let's bring him.
hello, Adam.
Hello, and thank you for coming on.
No worries. Am I an honorary bitch for this show? I think
Hell
that's
yeah.
yeah. All right.
I think that's the official title we have to go with for guests now. Honorary
Yeah.
bitch.
I should change the name at the bottom of my screen to honorary bitch. No,
I
look,
love
happy
that.
to run a draft. I love running mock drafts and things like that. So just get used to it. I'm already planning to run a mock draft for next season, probably in the next month.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the mock drafts because it's so interesting just to see everybody's thoughts and their picks. I love it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just like drafting. So happy
I
to
know it's
do it
always
with
fun to do
anyone.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody and their mother are asking, like, what's rest of season for this person, this person, this person?
Yeah.
And it's just like, why not? It's a great idea. Just like, why don't we just do a mock draft just to give people an idea about how some of us are thinking about players? And it's pretty fun to like, I've never done a midseason draft, redraft or mock or whatever. And it's funny to think about players through that lens where half of the season's already over and you're just sort of like you're thinking about more things because you just have more information about how players have performed over the season thus far. And so it's yeah, I found that the exercise very fun and interesting. So thank you, Kingy.
No, it's look. You could do a mock draft every 2 weeks, and the results would vary. I mean,
Yeah.
as we saw in this one, Wembanyama went number one, and if we did a draft now, he wouldn't be going number one.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was
yeah, when did we start this? It was a slow draft.
yeah.
It was probably just after the games finished before the All-Star break. So
Yep.
2 weeks ago, something like that.
All right. So
Yeah.
that's a good lens because yeah, Wembanyama went first. Kayla, you want to bring up the board?
Yeah, got it ready right here. And I picked second, and it was funny because I posted my team on Twitter, and one guy commented, "Oh, it's a good thing you didn't have the first pick because you probably would have went Wemby." And honestly, I would have gone Jokic either way, but I guess it worked out for me.
I was going
Yeah.
third, and honestly, yeah, I would have if Jokic was there, I'd be really, really happy. As it was, I was really happy with SGA as well. So,
Oh yeah, I
and we
think
did,
he's like the consensus like third overall pick at this point.
or maybe even first. I don't know. What do you think, Kingy?
He's been pretty good, hasn't he? It's a bit unlucky for I think it was Karan who had number one pick and he took Wemby, which is absolutely fair enough. But in a couple of my leagues where we actually do mid-season redrafts, I had the second pick in one of those leagues, and I got Jokic. The guy who picked first got Wemby, obviously, and then a week later, no more Wemby. So yeah, I think they were the consensus top three coming into the season, and I think injuries aside or illness aside, they're still the consensus top three, and I'm pretty sure that'll be the case next season as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know you went through the first three and a few picks with Noah on your episode, so we won't spend too much time on the first three rounds. But I will say that, like, I think Doncic not going earlier, Towns going fourth, and me with my crazy Josh Hart pick at the beginning of the second round, or at the end of the second round. were standouts to me in the early rounds. And I'll just say that like the Josh Hart pick, I mean, it's just based on the season that he's had so far and just expecting that he'll kind of continue on that track is why I picked him. And I felt like even though, well, first off, I'll say that I started to do a build. You know, some people I'm sure were just like, I'm just going to pick the best available player. Since this is illustration of rest of season. But for me, it's like, I'm so competitive. I'm like, I'm making a build. So I did like a 0.3s punt, points and threes punt, kind of soft on points, but definitely punting threes. So that was kind of my mindset going in by the time I was drafting in the 3rd round.
I love that Josh Hart pick, though. I think that's totally appropriate for him. I mean, he's been amazing this year and a lot better than I expected him to be. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players where if you haven't had him on your roster this season, you're probably not aware how good he's actually been. And so you would look at this and go, why would you take Josh Hart in the 2nd round of a draft? But if you've had him on your team, you know that makes sense because the Knicks play him 40 minutes a night. So there's no issues with opportunity. It purely comes down to injuries here. If he gets injured, bad luck. But if he doesn't get injured, then there's no reason to think that he can't keep doing what he's been doing, and that is putting up top 20 value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he got injured, so.
He did. Yes. Hopefully only a minor injury. As we know with the Knicks, you almost need to be on your deathbed to not be playing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And can I just say, I didn't realize that Dyson Daniels was still available when I picked Siakam. Oh my God.
I was waiting. So we did 3rd round reversal and I'm like, okay, Kayla. I'm thinking, Kayla, your dude's here. Are you going to pick him? And I was just waiting for the turn. And you picked Vooch and then you picked Siakam. And I'm like, WTF, Kayla. And so I picked Daniels, and then I immediately messaged Kayla, and you had no idea.
No, I had no idea because I didn't scroll through like the whole list of rankings. And then after that, I kind of went with a different direction where I started drafting former Raptors players. And honestly, like I wasn't even realizing that I was doing that because I went Siakam, VanVleet, and then DeRozan. And I stopped and I was like, okay, like I gotta switch it up a little bit here.
Yeah. I considered Dyson with my 3rd pick, which was the start of the 3rd round because we did 3rd round reversal. So that would have been the 26th pick. I considered him there. I went with Trey Murphy. But I knew there was no way Dyson was coming back to me because I knew you two were ahead of me. Noah would have taken him almost certainly. Don't know who else would have. I'm not sure, but I knew one of you 3 would take him. So I was sort of resigned to the fact that I wasn't going to have him on this roster. But I've got him in enough teams that's I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Murphy is ranked at about, like, I think 20th on #basketball and category leagues. So, like, that's a great pick there. But if I could go back in time, it would have been Daniels over Siakam 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of things, like, I kind of regret in, like, the early rounds. But towards the end, I went with Sharp, Dosunmu, Keontae George, Avdia, White. Like, I'm happy with those picks. So I think I did pretty well in the end there. How are you feeling about your team, Kingy?
Yeah, not bad. I obviously punted. I didn't go into the draft with a sort of a strategy in mind, and I, as Yuri sort of said there, this was a mock draft. So part of me is of the opinion that yes, we just want to provide people with value here. Like where are we valuing certain players? And with that mindset, you're probably more of the opinion, well, I'll just take best player available. But of course, I went into a punt mode, as I always do, and ended up punting 4 categories. I took a Kongwu with my 4th round pick with the hope that okay, maybe I can sort of be strong enough in rebounds here because Cade Cunningham is a decent rebounder for a guard. Trey Murphy can get a few rebounds. But I mean, as you can see, I quickly went away from that and just went with my usual 4 category punt. So I like my squad. Yeah, Cade Cunningham, happy to get him there in the second round. Okongwu, I don't know. I mean, interested on your thoughts, I suppose, on Okongwu, because he's one of those players that has been talked about for feels like 3 years now as this top 50, top 40 player, but we just haven't seen Atlanta give him the opportunity. And I think we're seeing that now quite clearly. Do we think are we still of the opinion that he can be a top 50, top 40 player now that we've actually seen him in a starter's role for, I don't know, how long has he been starting? A month?
I think about there.
I feel like the Hawks have kind of made a little switch to being a little bit more run and gun, like faster pace. And Okongwu kind of fits more than Capella. So I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty hopeful. I mean, I have Trae Young on one of my teams, and I was really worried for a little bit there that they were maybe gonna start to sit him a little bit more, but I mean, knock on wood, he's been playing every game, and they look really good out there. So I'm high on Okongwu. I think he went about in the right spot in terms of like centers.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Board.
I think top 50 is definitely achievable for him. It's just I feel like so many people are frustrated with him and just the whole situation that the Hawks have been in with Clint Capella, all the trade rumors and all that stuff. So I feel like that's why some people are a little bit lower on him. But I mean, the upside is definitely there. I mean, he's looked fantastic when he's starting.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of Okongwu's value or potential value is going to come down to his defensive stats and what he can give us on that end of the court. Because we know he'll be a double-double. He'll get us like 15, 16 points. He'll be efficient, somewhat efficient from the free throw line. He's not great, but he's not terrible. But can he average 2 combined steals and blocks, 2.2, or is he going to be stuck at sort of 1.6, 1.7? I think that'll be the difference between him being top 80 and top 50 or top 40.
Yeah, definitely. It's something to watch out for next season, though. Will that trade finally happen with Capella? I mean, that's a big thing. I honestly really thought that it was happening this year, and so did D-Mac. Like, he's a huge Okongwu fan, so he was just a little bit disappointed it didn't.
Yeah, and I think we even thought going into the trade deadline that he was a certainty to be moved because he wasn't playing. He was just not with team. But then he just sort of floated back into the rotation 2 or 3 games ago, which hasn't really impacted Okongwu. I mean, he's still playing 30 minutes a night. But I do think that the injury to Larry Nance probably forced their hand a little bit. I think they would rather have Nance because, as you said, he fits that run and gun sort of mindset that they appear to have at the moment. Capella doesn't, but they don't really have another center, so they just have to have someone out there who can get rebounds.
I mean, he's been starting since January 20th, so I think he's got that role. So,
yeah, that's a good sign at least.
Yeah, so as I want to do in my other drafts, I don't really draft a lot of centers. I'm really, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and so I know that team better than any other team, and so I almost always draft Draymond because he's got center eligibility, and he gives me like all that other stuff to assist and rebound or defense. So I was sort of counting on getting Draymond a little bit later in the draft, and I did, but Zubac was my only true center, and then I got Makovich at the end of the draft too. So, but that's kind of typical for how I typically draft. Not a ton of true centers.
So with your team, I saw in the 5th round there, you picked Malik Monk, and I mean, you watch along on my show when you can, and I get questions about Malik Monk and what's because he's obviously played very well since moving into the starting lineup, but the addition of Zach LaVine, the addition of Markel Fultz, Keon Ellis sort of being thereabouts, do you think Monk can he continue to be a sort of top 50 player rest of season, or are we a bit worried about him? That we've seen signs that they're not as confident running him as their point guard, especially with Fultz there as an option now. So are you worried at all about Malik Monk?
Well, at the time they hadn't gotten Fultz.
No.
So, but I was just looking at like, where can I get some assists on the board, and I felt like points and assists, Monk can give me that. Even though I was punting threes, like, of course, he'll give me some threes. But now that Fultz has joined the team, I'm not as high on him. I probably wouldn't have picked him there, knowing what I know now. But, what else are they going to do? They don't have a lot of options. I mean, Monk is like a tried and true king. Like, those guys adore Malik Monk, so he's going to get his, whether he comes off the bench or he continues to start. So I'm not that worried about Monk, because at the very least he'll have his solid 6-man role coming off the bench.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Not super worried either. You probably could have maybe waited a round or two, but then again, that was before the news came out. And I mean, he's been actually pretty solid. It's just with the addition of Fultz, and then you have Ellis. Quite a few mouths to feed there.
Yeah, I agree. I think the minutes will be fine. The numbers might drop a little bit, but they're still running a very, very shallow rotation. So he's not losing his spot or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I could have picked Van Fleet, but at the time he's still hurt. And Jesus Christ, I mean, Josh Giddey has been fucking phenomenal. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I knew that Austin Reeves was still going to retain a little bit of value, even with Luka there, and he has. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't regret it. I think Monk's solid for points and assists. Yeah,
definitely.
It's fairly durable. Yeah.
Were there any like really big surprises for you guys, like a player who was drafted way too early or way too late?
I feel like Klingon went a little early.
He might have. Where is he?
Yeah, I'm trying to find him.
So many names.
He's in the 5th round, pick 8.
Oh, yeah, too early.
And Jesus.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid. I'm shocked he went
where
in the
did he
5th
go?
round.
Yeah, he's someone to avoid for me.
Yeah, I mean, this was before the news, obviously, that they were looking to potentially shut him down. But even still, I just wouldn't touch Embiid. I don't think I ever will, and I never have. But yeah, I don't see any path to him getting back to Joel Embiid of 2 or 3 years ago. He's going to be. Hopefully, they can salvage his knee to the point where he can still be a solid contributor, because they're paying him enough money, so they want to get something out of him here. So yes, he was high. Klingon was too high, I think, as well. Anyone else jumping out?
I know some people were commenting about Tyrese going too high, because he went at 6, which is basically what he was going in
preseason.
Preseason drafts. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that one.
Oh, look, I know Chad likes Halliburton, so I wasn't surprised. Yeah, look, on the surface, it probably is too high, but again, it comes down to what is your build? Like, what's your mindset going into the draft? Because if you're punting a couple of categories, he probably moves into being a fairly stable first rounder at least. And I mean, this season he's been pretty durable. Last season he had the the hamstring, I think it was, or groin or something. So the Pacers, in terms of teams that are going to have to win as many games as possible, the Pacers are right in there. They're in that sort of tussle for a seeding in the East. So I don't hate it. It's probably higher than I would have gone on him, but he has been, I think he's a top 20 player for the season. Like, it's not like he's been a top 50 player or something. He's been
Yeah, I think
fine.
he's around that 20 mark. Yeah, I was looking at hashtag basketball around there. Yeah, lower than expected, but not absolutely horrible, like the start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, Basketball Monster has him in a 9 category league as the 10th ranked player this year. So obviously part of that is the fact that he is very low turnovers for a point guard. So that helps in a 9 cat league. But he's been fairly solid. And I think another issue with Halliburton is that if we think back, I want to say 2 years ago, was last year was his full first year in Indiana, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So I think coming into that season, expectations were for him to be 18 points, double-digit assists with 1.5 steals. But then he came out and was this sort of option A, option B on offense and was having 20, 30-point games. And I think everyone's expectations just went too high. So if you actually look at his numbers for this year, he's at 18 points, 9 assists, 1.4 steals. That's pretty close to what we thought he would be doing. I think he just outplayed himself for 3 months. And then he got injured, and then Siakam arrived, and now he's just settled back into that range where we thought he would be, which was a borderline first-round player.
Would you have picked Maxey over Halliburton?
Potentially. Dan and I did a show this morning, and we talked about Tyrese Maxey and whether we think there's a risk moving forward for Maxey just playing on a team like the Sixers, who hopefully are going to shut it down. For Sixers fans' sake, they want to shut it down and try and maintain their draft pick. So that would be my only concern. If we were just looking at, like, okay, both guys are going to play 20 games rest of season, I would take Maxey over Halliburton. But there's a chance that Halliburton plays 20 games and Maxey plays 14 games.
Yeah.
So that would be my concern. And again, this draft was done before the Embiid shutdown news. So, I guess opinions on, I don't know whether Raf, who took Maxey here, would be as confident taking him at pick 8. So I'm not sure, but it'd be close. I think Maxey's been phenomenal this year and will continue to put up big numbers, but he is dealing with a finger issue. So that is something that they could, as we know, these teams that want to tank, they will latch onto an injury and basically stretch it out the whole season. Like Lauri Markkanen's back has been bothering him for 2 years, and they just keep saying back injury. So that might happen with Maxey here. I'm not too sure.
So I was, as part of my official getting ready for the playoffs, I went through the playoff schedules for all 30 teams and for all the playoff periods across my 3 non-games cap head-to-head leagues. And I noticed there were a lot of back-to-backs. Like every team has back-to-backs. And I'm wondering, maybe we talk a little bit about what players are in risk of not playing back-to-backs and focused on competing teams, like teams that are going to be competing for play-in or for playoff positioning. So I would like, for instance, do you think Curry is going to sit back-to-backs in the last, like, say if we ended the playoffs or ended the season March 23rd? So the 3 weeks preceding that, do you think, so beginning of March, do you think they'll start to rest Curry on back-to-backs?
It's tough with Golden State. I'm just looking at where they are now. So they're 9th currently. But it's so jammed up in that.
It's really jammed up, yeah.
Sort of from 6th through to 11th. There's only 3 or 4 games. So it's probably a decision that the organisation is just putting on the shelf at the moment, and they'll wait and they'll take it almost week by week. They'll have a look at if they win 6 games in a row, and then a few of those teams around them win 2 or 3 out of their 6, and the Warriors are sitting at 6th or 5th, then maybe they play Steph. I mean, he's not dealing with an injury per se. He's just a little bit older, and they have been able to manage him to this point. And also having Jimmy Butler there, I think, takes a lot of the pressure off Steph. So he doesn't. We've seen he's been much better since Jimmy has arrived, because I just don't think he has to do as much. So I would think, I don't know. I'd say there's a chance they play him majority of the rest of the season, and actually even in back-to-backs, maybe they limit his minutes a little bit. But maybe, I don't know who those back-to-backs are against. That probably is something to weigh up in the decision-making. If they're playing Washington or Charlotte or something like that, they might rest him. Mm-hmm. But if they're against a team that's wanting to win and competing, then I think there's a chance they actually play him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if they're playing like a crappy team, I mean, you probably don't need Curry to win, especially, like you said, now that they have Butler there. So yeah, I think it's possible that he'll miss out on a couple games, and it does come down to his age as well, right? How old is he now? Like late 30s? Is he 35, 36?
It's like 33, I think, or something.
No.
Feels like he's been around. No, I think he's older than 33. Let's have a look.
Is he 36?
Yeah, maybe 36, 37.
Yeah, so I mean, they want to be careful.
37,
with him too, right?
37.
Okay.
37.
Yeah, so that would make sense. I mean, even for like the top teams too, like the Cavs, Celtics, Thunder, like those guys are so far ahead that they can afford to rest some of their stars. And we know that they've done that before too, right? Especially on those like star-studded teams, you just rely on other stars.
Yeah, I think they'd actually be two of the teams I would be keeping an eye on for resting is Cleveland and OKC, because they are both like 8, 6, 7, 8 games ahead. So we're going to get to hopefully not fantasy playoffs, but certainly April, and that's a good reason to end your league before we get into April. We're already seeing that Darius Garland is not playing now. I think he's legitimately injured, but it's probably a situation where they're basically saying, take a week off and we'll reevaluate you in a week. So we could see that for like even Shea. I know we talk about Shea and he's very durable and a great player, but there's a chance that down that stretch home run there, he misses sort of every second or third game as they look to just keep him on ice almost for the playoffs.
Yeah, they've already started resting Chet. Sorry, Kayla.
They got him. No, yeah, for sure. Especially with a long-term injury like that. Yeah, you got to be careful with him. Yeah, but I know Shea did miss quite a few games down the stretch of last year. I actually did a thread, and I looked at, like, I think the top 70 players ranked this season, and I went into their game logs from last year to see how many games they missed for, like, a certain period. So I think it was from, like, March to April or something. I gotta find it. I think Shea missed 6.
Ooh, that's good research.
That took me forever to do, and I accidentally deleted it somehow, and I had to restart. I was so mad.
Oh, shit.
But it's over on Twitter. I'm just going to find it. But yeah, no, it's a good tool to have. Honestly, it was interesting to see because there was quite a few players who actually didn't miss any games for like a month. And they're stars. I was kind of surprised at that. So yeah, a lot of interesting there. I mean, Markkanen, I think, was like the most with like 1 million. But
yeah, he did. Yeah, he didn't play. I think the final sort of and Boston will be another team. I think if they're sort of positioned at the moment quite comfortably in that second spot, and if it gets to a point where they just don't think they can catch Cleveland, which we might be there already, to be honest, because we're at 58 games, so we've only got 24 games remaining, and they're 6 games behind Cleveland. So chances of them catching the Cavs it's pretty low. And we saw last season as well. Boston, they rested Jason Tatum. Porzingis, I mean, he was a random scratch tonight. I don't even know why he didn't play. I don't know if they gave us a reason. He was just removed from the lineup. So they will be another team, I think, where we'll see those. And someone like a Jason Tatum is someone that we draft probably slightly higher than he should be going because of that durability factor. But I think you forget about, usually because it's the end of the season, but he will miss games down the stretch. I can guarantee that there'll be, of their last 24 games, Tatum maybe he plays 18.
So Tatum, in the final month of last season, actually didn't play 5 games.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit. And interestingly, Kevin Durant didn't miss any. Booker missed none. Chet Holmgren didn't miss any, but that's a different scenario this year, especially with the injury. Anthony Edwards, none. Fox, none. Trey Murphy didn't miss any. And Tyrese didn't miss any.
Yep.
Jarrett Allen, nothing. That I think will change.
Mobley, did he miss any?
Let's see.
I don't remember him missing many.
He missed 3, but I think he was dealing with an injury at the time. So that was that. Josh Hart didn't miss any. So that's good.
Brunson?
Brunson. 0. Yeah. And I think I saw Bradley Beal didn't miss any, which was actually surprising.
And I think that'll probably be the case for Phoenix this year as well, because they're currently 11th. So they want to win. So I think the Suns, the Kings, the Warriors, Dallas, I don't know what to make of Dallas, because they're really not going to have a center for another, 2 weeks at least.
Yeah.
So, and they're currently...
Who's due to come back first?
I think it's Lively.
Lively or Gafford?
I think Gafford's up for a little bit longer. I don't know. Honestly, the reporting on it is like a headache.
Yeah, it's a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Do you think Lively comes back then? Or in a couple weeks?
I think from what I've heard last, he's going to be reevaluated. I have to double check that though. Yeah, because it's still a little bit murky.
Yeah, I think they'll have a look at, like, when that reevaluation time comes, they'll have a look at where they're sitting and decide, do we get these guys back and do we go for it, or do we? Because they're not old. I mean, even Anthony Davis is not super old, so they might just say, we're just going to pull the pin. Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. I think Gafford will come back, but these other guys, let's just start rehab. Let's get you ready for next season. Rather than forcing them out there when you're trying to win it from the 9th seed or something. That's going to be tough. So, yeah, I think they're sort of the team in that bunch of the Clippers, the Wolves, Warriors, Kings, Suns. The Mavericks are the team that I think we probably don't know what they're doing. I think all other 5 teams in that discussion there will push hard. So their guys will play majority of the games moving forward. Dallas would be the one question mark for me.
Yeah, I think the main thing there is just like really monitoring the standings. That's going to be a big thing. I mean, we can already kind of tell like the Cavs and the Thunder, like those are the best of the best right now. So we kind of know who's going to rest. But yeah, the rest of these guys like fighting in the middle is something to keep an eye on.
God, yeah, the Mavs thing. It's just been such an emotional season with so many like factors, and I feel like there's pride is one of them. And like Nico Harrison, I feel like the only thing that could really prevent them from saying we're going to fight and try and get in the playoffs is if Anthony Davis is out for the rest of the season or not.
Yeah.
And they're playing the Lakers tonight, so that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, you think Max Christie's going to go off?
I hope so. I saw he's on your team too. I forgot to comment on that. Oh, I love Max Christie. Amazing.
Yeah, I think he's starting tonight too. I think they moved him into the starting lineup.
Even better. So
yeah,
I actually
I'm playing
almost
him
got
in games cap, so I'm hoping he kind of goes off tonight.
I think he will. Revenge game. But I almost got him for marketing in one of my leagues. I was so close, but the deal didn't go through. So I ended up trading Markkanen for Sar, which I think was a good move. But time will tell. It's a points league, so we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fine. Yes, Christie is starting tonight.
Okay, good. That'll be fun. I mean, Luca. I saw a video of him walking into the arena, and he looked so like almost shell shocked, deer in the headlights. Like, I think he's probably going through crazy emotions.
I can only imagine. That's tough. I really feel for him. Oh my god, what a situation.
Yeah. No, that game's just started actually.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I think it was a good draft. Like, I feel like there were some really fun picks at the end. And like, yeah, I picked Max Christie in the 10th round, then Makovich, and then Ellis. And
I love that Ty Jerome pick. I've been a big fan of him this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I feel like he was good again tonight. I know he was playing well. I know they beat the Magic by about 100. What did Ty Jerome do tonight? Oh, no box score data. That's nice. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, he was playing well. So yeah, I like him as a late round pick because, as we said, the Cavs are one of those teams that they'll give Donovan Mitchell some nights off, they'll give Garland some nights off, and it seems that when either of those guys don't play, Ty Jerome goes off. So his floor is probably sort of top 120, but his ceiling is top 50. And we could see that ceiling more and more as we get towards March and April.
Oh yeah, he got 20 points tonight, 4 threes, a couple rebounds, assists, and a steal, 3 turnovers. Yep. Not bad at all. And good shooting too, 58%.
Yeah, he's been doing that all year. He's been shooting the ball very well all season.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Karan picked Kessler and Markkanen. 8th and 9th rounds.
Surprising. I mean, obviously they went a lot later than they would in like preseason drafts, but still, like at this point, like I am not touching anyone on the Jazz with like a 10-foot pole.
Well, you picked Keontae George though, but I think that was a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick.
He's going to get plenty
of
run. Yeah. But
yeah, Keontae George I think was a good move. Yeah.
Yeah, George is safe. I think we've seen that. I feel like I took Isaiah Collier too. Yeah, I took Isaiah Collier in the 7th round as well.
That's a good one.
I think both he and Keontae George are relatively safe. Sexton, we assume, will come back at some point, but I think whether Collier is coming off the bench or starting, he's going to play 30 minutes, as is Keontae George. I think you could even argue that George has looked better since moving to the bench.
Yeah, agreed. I was a little bit surprised with Scotty Barnes and Quickly too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Raptors, but shut down. We know what's coming.
Chad got a lot of heat on Twitter for his picks.
He did, yeah. But he got some good picks too. Like Scoot, I love that pick. I'm a big fan of Scoot.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was a little surprising to me. And Sar was a good pick. I like that one.
Yeah, the Simmons one was, that was probably a bit high. I think when we drafted or when he made this pick, Simmons
he'd had a great game.
Yeah, I think he played his first game for the Clippers, and he played 27 minutes and had a good line. And since then, he's obviously been closer to 20 minutes. He's still doing stuff, but doesn't really play enough. For me, it's the back-to-back. Like you know that he is not playing every game.
Yeah,
that's the risk that you take there.
Oh yeah, I've been holding on to him in one of my points leagues, but we'll have to see with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Devin Vassell. Oh, well, a Devin Vassell update. He's hitting some shots. That's what I'm sorry. I'm just checking box scores.
Oh,
while we're
really?
doing this. And because I get so many Devin Vassell questions on my show.
Oh my God, I know, right?
He got dropped in our 14 teamer.
Yeah, he's got 20 points tonight. So good to see.
Yeah, had a couple of rough games. 5 points in his last game, 6 in the one before that.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But
that's good he's back. That's good he's coming back.
Oh, yeah. Keldon Johnson's actually looked pretty good, too.
Do you think it's time to pick up Filipowski?
I picked him up in one of my deep leagues.
Yeah, look, I think we're pretty close. He's I've got him in. I added him in A League. I can't think which one it is, but I mean, Markkanen's out again tomorrow. John Collins is out again tomorrow. I think Kessler is questionable. So we've sort of shifted from Filipowski being a stash. I think he's been a stash all season, but he's at least now doing enough, even when they're healthy, to sort of put up back-end value. He's playing 15 to 20 minutes. But then we saw the last 2 games that he's started, he's had a double-double, shooting the ball well, hitting threes, getting rebounds. So if you're positioned well, I think you could take a risk on him, even in a standard league at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, for the Jazz, like it's already silly season. I mean, it's been silly season for most of the year for them. So yeah, now's the time to go pick them up.
Yeah.
Get a head start.
They have a good playoff schedule too.
Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I guess Markkanen's going to be done pretty soon. Oh my God, I drafted him in like quite a few leagues, and I should have just like sold high on him, and I didn't.
If you've, I don't know when you're planning on releasing this show, whether it'll be before tomorrow's games, before Wednesday's games, but if so, I've been on the Dayron Sharp train all season, saying you need to stash him, you need to stash him. It's coming, it's coming. Claxton is suspended tomorrow, so we might finally get a look at what Dayron Sharp looks like as a starting center. It's only one game, but I'm going to take that as a win for anyone that's been stashing him. So I'm excited to see if he can play 30 minutes tomorrow night, what we get out of him.
Yeah, I'm not intending on dropping him before tomorrow.
That's for sure.
For that reason alone.
No.
I mean, Claxton will miss games too, right? So you'll have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm glad I used my last pick on him in this draft. Plus, I needed another center, so.
Yeah.
So that worked out well.
He's been good. He's just playing 17 minutes, which isn't quite enough. But
it's just piddly, and it's just like I'm like torn between Sharp and Buzelis and Makovich in like a million leagues. Just like which one is my worst, Yep. Which one could be the best, like blow up, in a couple weeks. So I don't know. It's very inconsistent, like all of their playing time and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, we thought we had some clarity on the Matkovic. We thought Misi is going to start, play 28 minutes. Matkovic will play 20 to 22. But then for some reason, they now play Kelly Olynyk 25 minutes a night. So it makes things very complicated.
Yeah, I guess it's just because he has great hair, but...
It could be, yeah.
Right? I mean, his hair looks nicer than mine, which is crazy. But, I mean, he's Canadian too, so no hate.
Yeah, Makovich has only gotten 17 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
Olynyk's 23 minutes. Oh, yeah, look at Olynyk's put up a great line. So it might be time to go off of Makovich, at least for now.
Yeah, his time will probably come soon.
Yeah.
No, Olynyk's got a steal and a block. He's playing some defense.
He's pretty well-rounded.
He's shot 16%.
Never mind.
Yeah, shots not falling, but he's done a lot of other stuff tonight. So
yeah, he's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Okay, Kingy, any other final thoughts for rest of season or on the draft board here?
No, I don't think so. I might even just sort of I'll do a snapshot thing of the draft and get it up on Twitter and tag everyone. And just because people will have questions, why did you draft this player here, and why did this guy go so low? So no, not really. But like you said, it's a fun experiment. It's a good idea, a good way of getting answering a ton of questions with one exercise, I suppose. So it's little effort, a lot of reward. So we'll get it up there and see, and then maybe revisit it at the end of the season and have a look how close we were.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really good exercise. Yeah, thanks again for running it. Amazing information here, and I think a lot of people were really grateful that we did it.
One thing, Kingy, is we typically ask our guests, and this is totally putting you on the spot, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but we typically ask our guests to pick a badass bitch of the week. And it could be any lady from any walks of life, does not have to be sports related.
Well, am I allowed to nominate my wife?
Absolutely.
Because me at the moment with one leg, I'm unable to drive. I'm pretty limited what I can do around the house. So she's working, she's driving the kids everywhere. She's doing it well. I'm trying to do some cooking, but I can't stand for too long before my knee swells up. So I'm going to nominate her because she's basically performing the role of both of us at the moment, and will continue to do so for the next, could be 6 weeks. So, yeah.
Good pick.
Very good pick. And we hope you feel.
Please tell her that she is our badass bitch of the week.
Yes. I'll let her know.
And she'll get a t-shirt. We'll give her a t-shirt.
She'd wear that t-shirt too. If she got a t-shirt, she'd wear it.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Kingy.
No worries at all. It's the middle of the day for me, so I enjoy doing shows at this time of the day. I don't have to get up too early, and I'll seamlessly transition into my post-game show in a couple of hours.
Maybe you can put some posters while you're recuperating behind you on your closet wall.
Yeah. I do need to pretty it up a bit. It's pretty bland and boring at the moment. I'd love to get a shelf where I could just display Lego and all sorts of things that I have here, but it would just be, I'd have to find a shelf on wheels or something. I don't know how to do that. That seems like a lot of effort.
Fair enough.
Well, Kayla, let's not get caught.
Let's keep going.